Good afternoon to you. My name is Nicolette.
Good
Yes,
afternoon,
good
good
afternoon.
evening, good morning. Because where are your audience from? We just meet them
They
where they
could be
are.
listening to this just about before bed or commuting in the morning. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody listening. Hello. How? My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. First up, I'd like to say thank you very much for saying yes to the interview today. And I cannot wait to have you on the show, to be honest, because my podcast talks a lot about self worthiness. More importantly, as well, spirituality has been a big part or a big, I would say, an impetus of me starting this podcast. So when I read your profile, human MRI psychic, like I have to get her on my show. So thank you very much.
I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So, how I'd like to read a bit of an introduction for our listeners today, and then we can get right into our question.
All right.
So, hey everyone, we have Gao Motsemme here with us, a mother of three, human MRI or psychic surgeon, freedom illuminator, embodiment queen, and change management expert devoted to helping individuals break free from patterns of generational toxic relationships and imprint, tapping into unwavering self-love and radiating true confidence so they can crush it in the boardroom, bedroom, and beyond in 90 days or less. For the past 7 years, Ao has been empowering individuals to reinvent themselves, redesign their life, and rebuild their confidence after major life shifts and initiation. Gao was initiated to her work through major life shifts. Not only she was mourning the end of a relationship and marriage, but she also faced a judicial injustice, which led to being separated from her children for 5 years, and that woke her up to her power and calling. She has a unique ability to tune in your energetic fields, scan and work on the patterns that interferes with your freedom and set. Welcome. Wow. I apologize for the listeners. Just before the start of this conversation, I was afraid of not pronouncing our guest's name today, so she's kind enough to teach me. So yes, Rao, come to the show.
Thanks for having me. I
Thank you
often
so
love
much.
to start by greeting everyone, and I do it in my native language, and that is Dumelang, Dumelang Lokai. And in direct translation, it's just agree. And since you are here about you are worthy, the question that I ask is based on your mission. Are you agreeing to embrace your worth? So when you coming through listening to us today, the question is, where are you coming from? Which is when someone say Dumelang and then Lokai is kind of locate yourself. Where are you? So this is what we're gonna start asking you today. Where are you and what is your intention of being here?
Wow, you started it off strong, Rao. I love it. Yes, I cannot wait to get into our conversation. So, Rao, tell us, what was it like growing up as Gao Motsemme?
Whew. Actually, it's quite interesting because I'm just getting chills as you ask that question. What was it like? It was like basically trying to for me to be accepted as I am. That's how it was like. It was like, and the funny part, even when you're saying, I can't pronounce your name properly, and you're saying all that. And I still remember one distinct memory where I say to my mother, I cannot be like your children. My name is different. And that also just explains why I get to be different. So this is like the back and forth that we had between me and my mom was basically, why can't you just be like my children? Why can't you just dress like a woman has to dress? Why can you not be this and that? And my question was, why can I not be me? So
Mm.
when I look at my childhood just growing up, I was trying to understand why we get to be put in a certain box or container and being forced to be the same, like the societal, cultural, family requirements, expectations, and all that. So I grew up with this energy of I get to fight for me to
Mm.
be me. There's no fighting that. This is one of the things that I get to help people embrace that you are unique and you are worthy.
Preaching to the choir, yes. Oh, is it okay if I call you by your first letter G? Is that all
That's
right?
cool, yeah.
Yes, G. Can you share with us what you to delve into this particular niche of healing? And I read it in your profile. It's the freaking ancient quantum healing, something along those lines.
Yeah. African ancient quantum medicine. It's quite
Mm-hmm.
interesting, and I love the questions that you're asking because with me fighting to be me, which is like my drive through life, whether it was me and my parents saying it's me, I get to be me, I get to dress how I like, because I come from a very traditional family, you know. And then I get into relationships where there is always an agenda. You get to be this kind of woman who accepts
Yeah.
certain things, right? So I always thought I knew who I was until I realized that I didn't know who I was. That is, as much as I was always fighting to be me and all that, but at the end of the day, there were some unconscious programs that were leading the decisions and the choices that I was making. And that is, when I look at it, it's more. I'm going to talk about the blueprints that I often come across when I'm working with people, whether it's like the wealth blueprint, whether it's the relationship blueprint, the spiritual blueprint, the health blueprint. You know, that is how we go around life living. But then when you look at the way life unfolds and whether it's disease or the relationships that you end up in, you realize that despite what you think you know consciously, but there's some imprints that are repeating itself from the same thing that you didn't like growing up, because we all have our different kind of dysfunction in our family, whatever you call it, it's a dysfunction that informs us. And as we go through life, we go through life creating that. So I found myself in relationships that were toxic. And the question was, who do you think you are? And I was asked that question even when I was a child. Who the hell do you think you are? And here I am in relationship with men who are trying to tell me who I get to be. And when I say this is who I am and this is what I get to be or do, the question was, who the hell do you think you are? And that also brought in that doubt of who the hell do I think I am? Am I even worthy? Sometimes it could be just loving friends, and they just kind of like, with the way you're thinking, I don't even think you're gonna be in a relationship. That is because you're just screwed. What kind of man is gonna accept that? If you are opinionated and all that. So I went through life, and then I had children at an I would say earlier age. I had my firstborn when I was 24. I was not married. And despite the I don't care, there was still a feeling of, yeah, I had a
What
child
would
out
the
of marriage.
society think
A
of
little
me?
bit of, yeah, a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
shame. What does people think of me, and all
Mm-hmm.
that? And then, like 2 years, I had the second child with the same guy. And why am I bringing this in the forefront? Because growing up with the family setting that I was in, first then there was a time when I vowed that I'll never have children, just because
Wow.
yeah, I just vowed I'll never have children. I remember my mother at some point just feeling concerned and having a conversation with me that, oh, children are a blessing. I'm like, no, I'm just okay by myself. I'm never going to have children. But at the same time, I was, part of the things that I do is help people embody their sexual sovereignty. So that was
Mm-hmm.
like a natural energy that I possessed. That meant I was also sexually active, and there was this energy that I exuded. And there I was, first children and then second child. And even then, for me, it was like kind of like, I'm cool with this because I don't want my children to have different fathers, because I know the dynamic that plays when it's like that. And there was also shame. I still remember a family member who was speaking loudly with his children that, whew, when she decided to have children, she really went all out and had children one after the other. And the conversation was like, you will think that she's educated to know better, but here she is. They're saying all this in front of me. I'm just like there and they're talking as if I don't even exist. That was like adding into my own self-doubt and whatever within these issues that I had. At the end of the day, at that moment, my children were my strength. I was striving to live for my children. I was an accountant, working at times, coming home at 2 a.m. because I had to do everything and provide whatever that I didn't have for my children. So when you look at this, I made a decision to have two children from the relationship that I knew wasn't working because I wanted my children to be from the same father. That was trying to avoid the pattern that I grew up in. And the next thing, I'm here striving day and night, going to work, living for my children. I still remember my elder sister at some point called me and asked me. She opened the bag and said, "How look at the clothes that you brought." And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Can you just see here? All the clothes are your children's clothes, and you are working, but you don't have anything new. You don't have clothes or anything, you know." So that's when it dawned on me, like, this is not healthy, you know. But then I went through a situation where life was basically happening. And in the life happening, I lost my corporate job, which was basically my identity. And shortly after, my mother got sick. Shortly after I got the separation package from this company, my younger brother had a near-death accident, and I still remember in that moment. Actually, I saw the accident before it happened, like 2 weeks before it happened. I saw it. Um, and then it happened. I remember I knelt down and I said, "God, save his life. And if you save his life, I'll do whatever that it takes. Whatever that you want me to do, I will do." At that moment, I knew that I have a calling. I'm a healer, but I didn't want to embrace it. But through the pain of my younger brother, I prayed, "Save his life. And I'm willing to do what you want me to do in this lifetime." Was that moment the moment the role started rolling? I have no idea, but life started happening. And when it happened, like when things shifted, was when I was separated with my children. But when you say what led you to do this healing, I would say I was not inspired to do it. It actually found me, because in the moment when I embraced what I was here to do, and I wanted to do what other people were doing, actually with the religious background, and I realized people could channel angels. I was like, "Oh, that's good. I also want to channel an angel, and that would be good, and that would be a subtitle to match where I'm coming from, And as I was excited about exploring how I can do this, nothing was happening. I was like, "I don't know what my gifts are. What are my gifts?" and all that. And at that moment, I was just told, "Go back to your roots." And that's when I
Oh.
went back into my ancestral roots, and I get to reconnect the gift that is already within me. That is how I get to do the healing that I'm doing. It's not like I was inspired to do it, it's what called me, because I couldn't run away from who I was. So basically, I thought I knew myself, but I was not even aware that there is a part of me that I'm running away from, which is my roots, and when we are not grounded in who we are and where we come from, we can try to do whatever that we're doing, but it doesn't have that foundation. We're not gonna give birth to it because we don't have strong roots.
There's so many things to unpack. It's about, okay, so because we all live in this false matrix that society conditions us to be, and we can only walk that path for so long until the universe says enough is enough, go back to who you are. And they somehow, it's either you realize it yourself, but more often than not, it is something that's going to happen to you. Somehow, somewhere, a tower moment will come and shake you up. And like you said, if your foundation is not built upon to what is really true about you, it will fall off. And that process is called unlearn. Like you, I also had the same to for a decade, over a decade, associate, or I tied my self-worth to achievements, to my work. And when my own of divorce and working environment faced me head on and said, and you, that time was COVID. And then it happened, and I had to sit down with myself and really think, who am I if I were to strip all of these possessions? Am I Nicolette, or am I more than that? And that was super powerful and super, it was an awakening for me. It says, and it's so scary because in order for you to find your true roots, because it's all about remembering, you're remembering, right? You are
Yeah,
piecing things, you're piecing yourself back together. And that means whatever false idea that you have of yourself, you have to let it crumble in order for you to, in order for the light within you to emerge.
absolutely.
And yeah, and it is a scary experience because we're taught to hold on instead of let go, surrender, and really let be in that receiving end, like from the universe. Like you can ask so many things, but people often humans are designed to, or not designed, conditioned to to go for it, to go against the current. And for me right now, it's like the more I relax, sometimes during my earlier part of my journey, I felt like I'm relaxing when I felt like I needed to relax, but I felt guilt because I was so used to, if I relax, that means I'm not working, that means I'm not productive, that means I'm not providing for myself. And that
Yeah.
equates to everything about me. Instead, I flipped the switch and said, just sit, be still, just let the downloads come to you, and then you will be guided for you on your next step, whatever it is. And it has been nothing but remarkable for me right now. And it slowly but surely I'm getting there. Right now as we speak, how do I say this? Wow, there's so much to say. It is like you being one with the people that you're talking to, being one
Yeah.
with the creature, being one with the pets even. It's like opening yourself, like our body is just a meat suit
Yeah.
because we're just here to experience the human experience. So I love this type of conversation, G, because I how do I say this? I started the podcast because I wanted to know if I'm if I'm lost, and is there anybody that's feeling lost like me? And because when I'm lost, that is when I was actually found.
Yeah. Absolutely. And actually, what is coming to mind when you're talking about lost, there is this song that I've been playing lately. I just came across it and I fell in love with it because it says lost and confident. And I'm like, you bring
Yeah.
it,
Oh
bro.
my
Lost and confident. Like,
god.
right?
That is can you like imagine the juxtaposition of that, the paradox. You're lost, but you're con at the same time because you're guided. You're divinely guided.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Absolutely. You are
I,
alone, but you are not lonely. You know, it's
exactly. Thank you for piecing it back. Like, thank you for putting that into words. That's actually, I was thinking, like, you have this, sometimes you just have this feeling like you can't quite put your finger on that feeling, but you know, whatever they're gonna do, you're gonna do it so freaking well.
and it's gonna work for you. And that's actually the magic of having your back. Because when you're going through this journey, there's gonna be some time when you'll be like, maybe I'm just crazy here. Maybe I'm just
Yeah, like,
yeah,
why the heck am I
yeah.
getting so, why the heck am I so confident? Like,
Exactly. And when you talk to somebody who is not in alignment, and that is
oh,
the thing, alignment
preach.
versus hustle, hustle and grind.
Yes. Yes.
They say hustle will always beat talent, but what I know to be true is that alignment will beat hustle and talent. You can have a talent and oh, you're
1000%.
gifted, but if you are not aligned, it's going to be a waste. But when you are in
Mm-hmm.
alignment, you know what you know, even if someone can come through and say, that's not true. I was married and my ex-husband did not believe in my path. He didn't, even when he saw miracles where I got reunited with my children without lawyers. But for him, it was kind of like, come on, there's nothing like God or whatever
Sheer
that doesn't
luck.
exist and all that. You have to come back to the reality and go to and learn to love the accounting job that you have. And I'm like, what I know, what is brewing within me is not what you know. And the truth is, our gift, our purpose was given to us. You can have a parent that loves you,
Mhm.
but they may not understand what you are here to be, do, and have. You can have a partner that loves you,
Mhm.
but they love you at the level of their own perception and their own programming and condition. They are not you. This is why it's vital to connect to our truth. Our truth. And one thing that I love about connecting to our truth is what really opens the door to our highest potential. For us to give
Mhm.
what we're here to give birth to. And at the same time, it's not about making the other person's truth wrong. If you
Yeah.
believe in what you believe in, I respect you, I love you, and I'll allow you to follow whatever that you have to follow it. But it doesn't mean that I get to deny what I know to be true for me.
Mm, 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 mm. You It's like music. It's like we're singing, except we're talking. Everything is
Exactly.
flowing. You're singing the first verse, I'm singing the chorus, and then you're singing the second. It's
Exactly.
like you know, before I had this notion that you have to be with someone, and that someone is going to you walk with that someone, and you're gonna figure life out together. And I stuck to that feeling, like, okay, it's gonna be happily ever after, and nothing else. But right now, the realization that I had is that you can have your parent that loves you, your community that loves you, your partner that loves you, but if you are not in alignment, you will. But the universe asks you, has been showing you signs that you need to be in alignment, because you're here to stand in your power to carry out certain things that you were meant to carry out. And right now, I feel like I'm the chosen one. I know it's like people listening to this. I think Nicolette is already, she's off. She's unhinged by this point. But there's this knowing that I don't have everything figured out, but I know it in my core that I'm meant to do this.
Yeah.
And when I see people around me, I look at them. Before, I had that filter of judgment that maybe they're not in the wrong path. But right now, as I slowly step in, it's like, I love you and you are on your own path. And because at the end of the day, we are connected, we will go back to source. And
Yeah.
you walking your path, me accepting my call or gift or purpose, stepping into my purpose, at the end of the day, we will come back. But if you choose to walk your path on this 3D plane, and you might not get awakened, or level of consciousness stays the same in this lifetime, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay, but it is not fair. It is not, I'm betraying my gift, or I don't know, the divine that has bestowed upon me that you need to do it. If I don't do it, it feels like that right now.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and if that means taking yourself out of the circle that you always were accustomed to, that you grew up with, or your family members, that's fine, because there's something you're meant to carry out.
Absolutely.
Something lost but confident is an understatement, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I mean, we're meant to find ourselves, and we find ourselves by finding our soul tribe.
That's
At
true.
times, and actually, I was in this other interview, and I love this question when someone asked me, how was it with these strangers that you call family? How was your life growing up with these strangers that you call family? And I'm like, that's the perfect question. I haven't heard it, but I love it. Because we have this conditioning that, oh, family is everything. And I'm not saying family is not everything, but family can still not be everything. So we get to make
Yes.
peace with it. The same thing, actually, just to add on to what you said, because you spoke about betrayal. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
follow what is within you, that which
Mm-hmm.
turns you on,
Mm-hmm.
that which guiding you, that makes you say yes to life. If you don't follow it, you can do it for some years, but when it gets to a certain point, you die a slow death. You just exist. You are not, and that is the self-betrayal at its highest. And self-betrayal is the worst kind of betrayal,
Mm-hmm.
because you are disrespecting your purpose, you are disrespecting your passion, you are disrespecting even the people that you are here to serve. I still remember when I was just told it's time. Like, that's what the voice said. It's time. I said, time for what? Time to do what you need to do. And I'm like, what is that? And I went through a process where I literally left my body. I was taken out of the body, and I connected basically to everyone on the planet. And I felt lots of emotions, pain, sadness, grief, all sorts of pain. And
Mm-hmm.
then while I was still immersed in it and feeling like this is too much, I came back to my body, and the question was, do you want to sit with your gift while so many people are struggling? And that's also the question that I'm extending to your
Mhm.
audience, because we get to ask ourselves this question. There is a reason why you are given that gift. And so you may not have clarity right now, but you know there is something that I'm meant to be, do, and have. It can come through maybe as a desire, the desire to it doesn't matter. You can think about it around finances, you can think about it around relationship, whatever that is. It is through that desire, when you follow that desire, that you get to give birth through whatever that you are meant to give birth to. Because if we are not following the desire, we are not operating at our highest potential. So we are missing out on whatever that we are meant to do. And like you said in the beginning, that we are not meant to wake up only through pain. But the reason why we listen to pain is that pain draws our attention. When we lose everything, that's when we're like, okay, then what's next? We start paying attention. It's not meant to be that way, but often we settle with the comfort. We give fear so much power. We buy into the belonging because we want to be accepted by other people, the validation of other people. And because we don't have the anchor within ourselves, we are looking outside of ourselves and we deny our own truth. We betray our gifts. We betray what we're here to give birth to. And people are going through, at times it can be something bad that happened to you. It can be that sexual abuse. It can be the betrayal, which I talk a lot about, the four core wounds, which is betrayal, abuse, rejection, and abandonment. We experience this. It can be a parent where your mother was a single parent, and because they had a good time with your father and the father never accepted you, and then he was gone. You don't even know who the heck he is and where he is and all that. You experience abandonment when you are born. It could be through your parent dying while you were still young. And you may understand at a certain level, like you have that consciousness, understanding that, okay, it's God's will, but there is a lot that is brewing inside. Why would you do this to me, God? And you feel all this anger, and at the same time, because of the fear that we have of God, because often we claim to have a relationship with God, but we fear God than we have an intimate relationship with, right? So the fear is denying you to even be open to yourself, how you feel about that creator that you always kneeling down and calling forth. It's crazy. But all that is happening to say, find who you are, because the most pain that we are going through as humanity is the denial of God, is the denial of the creator, the source that is within us. And when you are initiated, which is what I call an initiation, when life happens, it's like everything that you have identified with, that you've known yourself as, so that you can know yourself anew.
I'm gonna let that marinate for the people listening. Okay, G, we're gonna move on to the next question. Can you share a transformation story of someone who successfully broke free from generational trauma after following your methods?
I want to speak about this amazing client of mine and it's quite interesting because there's so many things that I often talk about, and starting with especially women, just the whole body shaming and feeling like we get to be a certain way and all that. So she had like the body that I would say every woman would desire to have. But
No.
still there was a part of her that felt, actually, I think the part that she hated the most was the fact that men were sexualizing her.
Ah.
So that made her not really, because there are two factors actually. Men are sexualizing her, and women who are not secure and embodying that sexual sovereignty, they feel threatened by her presence. So what
Mm.
she feels the need to hide, and there is a bit of shame that comes with that. And with this client, there was also, in her family, there was also like sexual abuse that happened, but she didn't experience like, as in like the penetration, but she was touched in ways that when she was there, like 5 years, by the uncle, touched her
Mhm.
in a certain ways and all that. And she minimized the because I'm
She
surrounded
couldn't
by men.
bear the emotion. She
Yeah,
couldn't understand what was.
yeah, and she made it
Yeah.
small as well, because there are people who were like seriously sexual abuse, like bad cases in her family. So she felt like, at least
This is
I was not
trivial.
penetrated. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not that much, but there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot in there. And she grew up in a family where the mother was also I would say it was an abusive relationship in the sense of the father was there, but the father was dominant. He was the breadwinner, and it was like his words, never listened to anyone. And the mother also contracted, felt small, and in her feeling small, there was a point where the father was in a relationship with another woman, and it was just like it was okay, but not okay. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
made it acceptable because others don't have a choice. So all this
Mm.
brought a lot of like she kind of like became the protector of her mother, and when
Right.
that happens, like the way it happened unconsciously is that she shared the pain with her mother and she despised her father. She kind of like fought. It's kind of like she was the woman who was married to her father because of all that she took
She
from her
was
mother to
taking
try and
it.
protect her from
Mm-hmm.
pain, like
Mm-hmm.
energetically she took
Yeah.
everything from her mother.
Mm.
So when we started working together, she was not working for many years. Something's happened at work because luckily for her, she met a great man. She was married to a great man. So that was like a good thing. So when you talk about how these things manifest itself in relationship, she didn't have an experience of that, because I'm here in a relationship that is great. But at work, that's where the whole patterns were playing out. The whole patterns
Um,
were playing out at work, and she ended up actually quitting because of some cases that happened, and the boss wanted to try and bring her into that case that didn't involve her, but just because kind of like I'll bring you down kind of thing that happened, and she
mhm.
quit. And when we met, she hasn't worked for 7 years. You know, and at
Because of
that
that trauma.
yeah, because of that. And
Mhm.
here's the thing, she hasn't worked for 7 years, and throughout the 7 years she was trying to ask her husband that I'll understand if you find someone else, I can pack my bags and go, because I don't bring anything here. So if you find someone that you really love and all that, I'll be okay, because I'm kind of like a burden. And she felt like a burden, and these are the emotions and everything that her mother carried. And she never worked on it, so now she was here carrying all these things. And her issue again was the despise of money. Like the father represented money because he was the breadwinner. So he was not aware that by the relationship that she had with the father, it's also blocking the money. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
The
there was a lot of
connection. Mm.
yeah, there was a lot of that. So we worked together first by dealing with her sexual story, which often we are, especially women, and I would say with men, as I say, patriarchy shut off women's womb and made us powerless. And it also shut off men's heart, because the magic really that happens for you to give birth to your desires is when your heart is connected to your womb for men. So the
Yes.
disconnection, the imbalance in both men and women. So
Mm.
with her experience and what is also in the ancestral lineages, we had to go back and find this abuse, like the domination from men and also from the women, which was like more playing small and then not wanting to use your gifts and earn money with your gifts. The bigness of who we are, because we are really we are magnificent beings, and we deserve to be paid for our brilliance. But if you have all
Yes.
these patterns playing out, you're gonna be sitting there with in poverty consciousness. Not
Mm.
necessarily that you don't have money, but because you are creating from the poverty consciousness from your ancestral lineages, right?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
went back to the sexual story, and he cleared all of that. He healed the shame, just going back to the ancestral lineages as well. And another thing was not feeling safe in her body because of whatever, the women being threatened and the men who all wanting to sleep with her. So she never felt sexy, and it was just because of what is coming from outside, plus the experience that she had is kind of like, I'm only safe if I hide here.
If I
She never
stay
accepted
closed off.
for who
Mm.
she is. Yeah. So feeling safe in her body, and also connected her to inner child who she's fully disconnected from when she was young, when all the abuse was happening. And for her, it was kind of like, if I am bitten and I cry, they will think they have power over me. So she developed this shadow, where no matter what happens, she doesn't cry and all that. So that's kind of like, I'm gonna show you who I am. And we develop this mask of being strong. It doesn't matter how it shows up in our life. It can be working. Let me say you're a single mother and you have your thing, you are working, and the father is not responsible. Instead of calling the father to be responsible for her children, you're kind of like, I'm gonna do it alone. I don't care about you. and the other person at the same time, you are also angry because he has all his money to himself, and he does what he wants, and I'm here with children and all that. It's things like that. So we worked on connecting with her inner child and all the blocks that she had, because the inner child is the doorway to our purpose. She holds that vision. And when she doesn't feel safe, you'll go around wanting your purpose. You'll go around grinding and not really feeling joyful because your inner child is shut off. And so is our sexual energy. Our life force energy is connected to money. It's connected to our purpose as well, and creativity, and actually just power, especially when you're talking about that feminine power. And it's
Mm.
feminine power. I'm not just talking about, even like, we use it more to refer to as women, but one thing that I can say is that even men, because they identify this femininity, which is like presence, the openness, the heart-centeredness. They are associated with weakness, which is what the patriarchy conditioned men to believe. That's why you're not meant to cry as a man. And when you do that, you shut off the flow. So I worked with her in all this, and it's quite interesting because she hasn't worked for 7 flipping years. And guess what? When we're done in 12 weeks, she didn't apply for a job. Somebody just called her husband and said, "We're looking for someone with the skills." And they started sharing the skills, and he's like, that's my wife. My wife can do that. Really? Then ask her to send the CV in this company. She didn't update her CV or anything. She just sent it as it was back then, without even caring or anything. Like, seriously. And then she was called for an interview. She went and met them, and they just said, "Actually, we need you, but we're not going to have you as an employee. You're going to show up as a consultant." And they offered her 90K. So, and she said, "I didn't want to go back as an employee." And this is like perfect. They offered her 90K from not working for 7 years and feeling that, oh, all the experience that I acquired for so many years went down the drain and all that. And then all of a sudden, boom, her family now is happy, finances are coming through, she's fully restored. And even when I talk about like the intimacy, she's like, "Thought our sex life was great, but I didn't realize what great is, because it's something else." It's like, my main fear is that I may
Through
have,
the roof.
yeah, it's another thing, which is what I call orgasmic bliss, and how beautiful it is when you experience it, not only in the bedroom, but also in the boardroom. Because she's just like, "I can't believe it." Because when I go to work, it's kind of like my boss, like, "I can't believe this is happening. And this is what's possible. So that's one example that I can give you, and like the process that I also had to take her through, things that I need to look at, because at times people do healing, but as much as they do healing, I would say the inner child and the sexual energy, these two, like, they kind of like come together. Because one thing that I realized with most clients that I work with, as much as I can go to the inner child, the moment I go to the inner child, she's the one who's going to hold my hand and show me a lot of things that happen that an adult that may be sitting in front of me is not aware of what happened. Because at times you go through that traumatic experience and you shut it off or you minimize it. But those things are stored in your body. This is where comes the human MRI, where for me, I converse mostly with the body. The body is what gets to talk to me, and it will lead me to all these things, where these emotions are stored, where these blocks are stored in the body. And as a psychic surgeon, then I get to remove that. And as I was speaking, actually, just for your community as well, I would say right now where the energy is centered is exactly in the pelvic area, in the womb. That's where we're at. And I would say, because for every audience it's different, but here we are now. We are just sitting there at the pelvic area with the sexual energy, which I would believe there is a lot that has not been unraveled in this area for us to have an individual relationship and connection with the sexual energy. People often tell me, when I talk about the sexual energy, people be like, "Oh, I'm good, I'm in a relationship, I've been married for 20 years. That means nothing. It means nothing. What is your individual relationship? How do you connect to this life force energy?
Gee, we're 47 minutes in and we haven't even, that was just the tip of the iceberg. I have to get you on for the second episode, or 3 or 4. Now, I want to go to the sexual energy. Please lay down to us, kids. I mean, I may have a little bit of understanding. Talk to us about the sexual energy, because I know this. Healers often have the most if you only know the amount of energy that somebody has through sex, you wouldn't just have it with anybody else. Yes, that's one. And then number two, it's, how do I say this? Sexual energy is the most powerful exchange there is. If one knows how to harness it, and the way it is being so, I don't know, loosely, I mean, blows my mind. And okay, I understood this just after I had to go through that phase myself.
Yeah,
To get to where I am right now, girl. It's this the solitude, the celibacy. Swear by it, because now I know how powerful it is. I am not gonna waste it or expend it on something that is, it's not to say worthy, because worthy means you're superior. It has to be right. It has to sit right with you. Like you said, the sacral energy, it's just like, it's brewed. And you say life force, the chi, it comes from there. It's the of life, right? And if
yeah,
it's too, I saw this one post in IG under microscope, the insemination of a sperm and the ovum. It's like a supernova happens
yeah,
at that. You can imagine that the littlest cell and the biggest cell of the body, they come together,
yeah.
and that means the dawn of a new life. I don't know, words can't express what I'm trying to say, right? But I think you get what I'm trying to say here. So
Absolutely.
I'm gonna I'm gonna give to you to explain to us from the start, at least for about 10 minutes. We could go on, like.
Yeah, like you said, sexual energy is a creation energy, and the thing is, actually, like you said, it's the highest currency, even way worthy than any, way valuable than any money that you can put down there. It's
Precise.
the
To my
highest
point.
currency. And here's the thing, the question that I want people to ask themselves is, why for many generations have we been dealing with first thing, why, let's just start with the religious system. If we are religious, it's not to say religious are bad, but there's some things that we need to call out.
Mhm.
When we look at the religious system, first thing that they talk about is this energy, but it's more from shame. And even from for women, like even the story of Eve and Adam, it's kind of like Eve is the sinner, the devil one who spoke to the snake, and we're calling the snake there. That's the Kundalini energy, right? That's why the
Yes.
symbolism of the snake, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's why that is
Mm-hmm.
coming through. And
Yes.
we are
Kundalini. Yeah.
conditioned as
I love
well
it.
to, this is the energy that we get to use to serve men. That's why it's more like going to the procreation, don't have sex until you are married and all that, like
Yes.
satisfy men, and it's only for procreation, which is,
Mm.
I would say, it's limiting. It's bigger than just that, and when you look at the other dark shadows of the sexual energy, is why is there all this sexual trafficking, child trafficking? It's all about sex, and they are using these children in their purity, for
Mm.
them to use this energy for something else. And there are
Yes.
also, I'll just speak about it. There are also some, I don't even know what to call them, but churches and all that, which you'll think in the forefront, like it's all this holy thing and all that. But when you dive deep, you realize there is this whole sexual whatever that is happening behind the curtain. Why
Mm-hmm.
is that?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the highest form of currency, you know. And on the other hand, where do you use it, and where are you coming from your relation with it? Because it multiplies. When you embody this energy, that's some that I would say there are different categories of people. There are people who exude it naturally. Have you seen a woman or even a guy who is just fully embodied in this whole thing, and they're just walking and you're just looking at this like, what a beautiful
Yes.
question. Like everyone just want to be with that person. It's just you being, it's captivating. You want to
Mm-hmm.
know this person more. You want to hug this person. You want to even go deeper. That's just how this energy is. So there are some
Mm-hmm.
people who embody it naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they embody it naturally but yet they don't feel worthy, or they're not connected to themselves and fully embody their magnificence. So it's kind of like you get the satisfaction or feeling that, oh, I'm more valuable, I'm loved by so many people who are coming to you. It doesn't matter whether it's guys or men. There are guys who just sleeping with everyone. It's kind of like, I'm cute and everybody wants me and all that. And you run with that. There are women who are also just like that, or even because it's also a healing energy. Let me just put that.
Yes.
It's a
Yes.
healing energy.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you are not using it for what you want to create and using it appropriately, you're going to attract the brokenness. Those people who just want to come and heal in it. And then from this kind of like, when I met this
Pull on your
person,
energy.
exactly. When I met this
Yeah.
person that were like this, now that are better because of me, they came here to heal because you don't know how to use it. So here's the thing again, when you're talking about the sexual energy, it's sacred. Who are you calling in? And
Yes.
especially looking at women. When you look at our genitals, there are more. Some
Mm-hmm.
penetrate, go within, and they leave
Yes.
that sit inside. Right? So that is kind of like, I mean, like you say, the supernova, when the ovum and the sperm were meeting. And even when you're talking about orgasm, if at all you experience orgasm, that is the moment
Yes.
where you are fully open, not knowing. It's kind of like, what is there to defend? You can't defend anything.
Yes.
It's like that.
It's
It's the highest form of openness. And that is means you
yes.
are receiving anything and everything at that moment. And you are
Mm-hmm.
having that, and somebody lives that sits within you. What are these people bringing that they're going to live inside you? And that is
Yes.
you going to create life from this energy.
With
And at
that.
times we've met people that we've been intimate with, and then we move on with life because things didn't work out. And when we parted, things were fiery and there's certain emotions that are being felt, and you move on with your life. And somebody's pissed off with you because, yeah, this whatever name calling that they're calling you. And sometimes it expresses itself in your consciousness as you saying those things to yourself. But it's
Mm.
not you. It's the connection that you have with this person who now hates you, yet you had a certain connection. So they have a way that they still continue to be connected to you.
The
You can imagine,
chords.
you can imagine now creating, even when you are in a new relationship with somebody, and you are with somebody who is with somebody, and they're connected with different people, and there's certain energy that they connect to, because just as a human, this is also the energy that also calls in, especially when we are operating at a lower vibration, it calls in entities love to attach to this energy. So
Yes.
not just like the humans and all that, even the non-humans. That's why people have a lot of attachment, that feed into the sexual energy. And at times it can happen that you may have had sexual abuse, and from there you feel certain way about yourself. You don't like yourself. You criticize yourself. Your conversation with yourself is not, loving. And when you're operating at that vibrations, you are calling anything that is at that vibration. And that's what you're meeting, and you trying to create whatever that you want in your life. And here's you holding this frequency. This is why when you talk about healing being necessary, it's you neutralizing and releasing anything and everything that is attached to your energy, so that you can create whatever that you need. It's also being fully connected, because I hear a lot, especially people who have been, I don't know, it's like, okay, I want to ask your audience, please raise your hand if you ever dated a toxic person, narcissist, and whatever. We can raise both hands, toes, feet, and all that. And then you go you go through then you go
Borrow my
through
cat's feet as well.
and then you go through the social media, where everyone is talking about, yeah, the, what do you call them, red flags. Yeah, the red
Mm.
flags, beware of these red flags and all that. And you read about all these things and all that. And still, what does that do? It still keeps you in the mind where you are still operating from fear. When I meet you, instead of meeting you like, hi, Nicolette, and then just waiting to see where we're going to go, I'm already trying to judge, like, okay, who is she? What is she can't pronounce my name. What I do? So, I can start
What's her
naming.
agenda?
You understand? I can start calling you
Yes.
all sorts of things instead of being open to
Mm-hmm.
see where we're gonna go, and also knowing and trusting my system that if something is not right, I will know. So we go
Yes.
around looking for red flags. And what we
Mm-hmm.
don't realize is it's not about the reflex. It's what is it that our body is used to? What is it that is navigating to us? What is it that our nervous system craves? Because you may know what you know and think you want something, but our nervous system craves that. And now imagine that everyone left that seeds within you while you're doing that energy exchange. There are certain things that have been exchanged with you that you do not want. So you want to attract people who are at that level, yet there is something that you want. But here you are, just different names, but the same behavior, the same traits and all that. And you're wondering, what is wrong with me? I've read books, I've done some work and all that. But the problem is what you are carrying within you. So we get to come back to our system, we come back to our sexual energy, which is actually that desire. And that's what we need. We radiate out there when we go walk, captivating, when we are present. And when you have healed all this, it anchors you within. You are connected to what you know you desire and deserve, which are really the core of creation. When you are coming from there, even when you're talking about relationship, it's not about I'm looking for a relationship because I want somebody to love me. You will love yourself enough. Even if somebody can come, you are grounded in who you are. You are accepting of who you are for you to know that what you're saying sounds good, but it doesn't feel good. I can hear, even for you, when you're coming through and you are speaking, there are people who can hear what you're saying, but your energy, what you are radiating, is getting in the way of what you're saying.
Oh, G. You saying this, I am having flashbacks of the past. Let's just
Yeah,
put it that way.
yeah,
And when you said, if only people comprehend or really get it, that the sexual energy is sacred, they would, not to say lock it, but it is like the crown jewel of you. And then coming back to what you said, that being the highest currency, just look at the oldest profession in the world, prostitution. And
yeah,
what does that do?
yeah.
Exchange of sexual energy. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
who I'm mindful of the time. I'm going to ask you a few more questions and then I would love to have you on again for another session.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to let you go, G. I need you on for me and for my audience. Yeah.
I'm here for you and your audience.
So, G, what is your heart's greatest wish?
My highest, greatest wish
Your heart's greatest wish.
for us to really remember who we are, as much as, like, for instance, talking about the generational toxic imprints, parents, habits, curses, and all that is coming through. One thing that is like the core pillar of my program, if I get to work with someone, is the freedom of individuality. For me, it's like at the core of everything, because the truth is, the more free you are, the more loving you can be. You can't love if you are not free.
That struck me like, if you have chains around your wrist, your ankle, because of the past hurt that you carried, that you still cannot let go, no matter how much people shower their love towards you, being kind, if you yourself believe that you are not deserving of that kind of love and that kind of kindness, you will never meet that person at the level that they, with beauty that you get to see with them. The view, when you're here, the view is different. When you're vibrating here, the view is different. Why I'm saying this is because I have in my circle who I know deep down has a lot of healing to do. But you cannot you can only bring a horse to the lake or the pond, but you cannot make it drink it.
Yeah.
It will have to drink it itself.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, the best that I can do is send love and healing their way, because I believe that I can be there, or healers can be there to guide and walk the talk. And we must have that compassion and the kindness and the because, well, understanding being the highest seventh chakra, right? I understand that he or she is there because of the whatever karmic things that they have accumulated, and they have to settle in this lifetime. And if they don't settle, when I say settle, heal and come back to their truest form of their soul, what they're here for, it's okay. They
Yeah.
might go on in this lifetime and repay it the next round, or they sit here and they really do the work. I said the work means a lot, but again, the paradox of it actually does need help. It's okay. It is not my fault.
No.
And having that, accepting that, sitting with that, and marching on, carrying out your duty that you're here for, because we are all a vessel, right? We are,
Yeah.
this body is a vessel.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm not sure if I think our listeners would be getting the whole idea. Sometimes when I think of it, when I sit with myself and I think and I start unraveling, I said, there's truth, it's like you trying to make sense of it, you can't, but then it's the right way.
Yeah.
Lost and confident.
Yeah.
It's not
Lost and
lost but
confident.
confident. Lost and confident. You see, it's the
Yeah.
addition.
Yeah, and just to add quickly on what you said about the people that we love, I had a client who actually she was coming from a very strong religious background, like that's the only thing that she knew. And that means she went through life with you have to be this way. Your way is wrong. And it caused a lot of havoc in her relationships with her siblings and friends and all that. And when she came to me, she was just following her truth that the path that I followed has been my path for as long as I can remember. But somehow within me, I feel like it has served me. I'm not in agreement with certain things. So I want to find out more about what is next for me. And the truth is, this is true for all of us. It doesn't matter. It can be a relationship when it has served its purpose, even marriage, it serves its purpose, then you are called for more. And whatever that we're in, it serves its purpose. You learned what you were there to learn. And now the question is, are you willing to allow yourself to evolve into something bigger?
Mm.
So she came to me with her pain being the where she was, the path that she was in. And it's quite interesting because with her, like every time when I connected with her, especially in the beginning when she was still trying to fight her truth, there was a lot in the solar plexus, a lot of pain.
Mhm.
And then it's quite interesting that even in her life, she had a history of ulcers. She was even supposed to be operated for ulcers, and she ended up not even having to do any of all of that because we got to the core and we held it. And as we were doing this and shifting perceptions and all that she wanted everyone to be from the perception where she was looking at life from, it all fell off. And it helped her to have an expansive relationship with her siblings, not expecting them to change to be a certain way. Just, I flip and love you as you are, and you don't have to be or do what I do, but I respect your path. And it's the one thing that she's grateful for is that we did this work because 2, 3 years later, siblings passed on, but she never regretted the fact that throughout the last years, she did the work and there was no judgment. She was just living of everyone where they were at, and in that passing, it's kind of like we had a great time and things had to happen the way they happened. And often when I look at the pain, the grief, the guilt that people have, we often have this guilt when somebody's gone, and it's kind of like I didn't like how this person, whatever, but when you look at it, when you come to just love all of you, because when you're talking about, I talk a lot about the embodiment of self-love and confidence, not
Mhm.
just an idea of I love
Mm.
myself, I'm going to go to a spa and all that. You become that. And when you
Mm.
embody that, you are it. That is the being. And you
Mhm.
cannot be love and deny the other love because they are not being a certain way.
Because you are love.
Absolutely. And also, even when it comes to a relationship ending or a marriage ending, the best time when I learned about love was when I was going through divorce. That's when I knew the depth of love, and that's what I was called to do, be love. And often we don't want to think about the great memories that we had. We don't want to think about anything because it's just so painful and I want to hate. And actually, people at times stay in relationships that are toxic or they're not just working out, they've outgrown each other. And they stay there because I still love him. I still love her. You're not going to stop loving that person. The only illusion that you can have that you don't love that person anymore is by every day working on blocking your heart, finding the evil, the worst thing that you can think about that person. And you build that, you stack that up. And then it's like, this evil, I hate this person. Now I'm going to move on. You have closed your heart. Where are you moving on to? That's why you end up in another toxic relationship. But when you fully open and real and connect with the memories you had, whatever, it's painful because it's normal, but at the same time, that is the moment where the walls that you have created over time just collapses, and you are opening your heart to more love because you are cherishing the love that you shared together. And that is kind of like, it creates the function of this or better, this or better. So you want more of that when you open your heart to that. The only pain that we feel is the pain of the denial of the love we have for ourselves and the love we have for each other. That's why we say it's hurting when we are parting with each other. What hurts the most is that we are not willing to love ourselves. But there is a certain aspect of ourselves that fell in love with that person. So when we shut off and put that person in that whatever
That
dark box or
ourself as
whatever,
well.
we are also taking a part of ourselves and looking at there. And you move on with life, but you are not your whole self.
You left your part with that person. I'm gonna let that marinate with those listening because I felt that. Gee, do you have a mantra that you live by?
For me, like I said, one thing that I live by is freedom, joy, and love. That is, am I free? How am I feeling? Which is, for me, is connecting to myself. How am I feeling? And my emotions are the ones which guide me to whether I'm in alignment or not. Because as I mentioned, the more I'm free, the more joyful I am, then the more loving I can be. So for me, that's like how I perceive everything. It doesn't matter whether it's a job. Am I free? Am I joyful? Am I loving? Whether it's a relationship, am I free? Am I joyful? Am I loving? Even I'm in a friendship. How am I showing up? If I have to show up and I have to hide who I am, then that's not for me and that's not for you because I'm not gonna serve you at the level that you need to be served. So I would say those are the three things. My emotions are guiding me to tell me where I'm at. If I'm with someone or in a certain group and I feel like a certain
It's
way, then
not vibing.
yeah,
The
then
aura is off.
yeah, that something is off. Even when you get to know somebody, the
Mm-hmm.
question is, what part of you do you want these people to see? If you find yourself
Ah,
saying certain things because I want them to believe that I'm intelligent, I want to appear a certain way, then you're trying too hard. That means there is a part of you that believes that you are not worthy of that person or something is playing out. And one thing actually just talking about this, when we're talking about something that ends the relationship, we are often worried about the third party. I got maybe he's gonna find another girl who is better than me or another man who is better than me. But if there is anything that ends a relationship faster, it's the insecurity.
oof. Because if you're secure with your soul, you are whole, you are free, you are joy, you are peace. And if, because it's two whole, right? People say it's half, but actually you're a whole.
Yeah,
Imagine if you are this person, this, but then you're full or filled to the brim and overflowing. But the other, it's not, it's always trying to look out that, okay, I am not full. What happens if I am not worthy to be filled up to the brim?
yeah,
And it's like, you are, this is just me again, imagining things like, if you are not full, then how are you gonna live that highest potential of the two of you coming together, the union, right? It's supposed to be a union, and supposed to do great things together. There's a reason why you met. The insecurities could mean you not having your cup full is already insecure, Because
Yeah.
when you're secure, you're filled to the brim and you're overflowing. And that's when you can give to others, and also coming back to loving yourself. When you really love yourself, that's when you can fill your cup. That's the only way you can be present in your relationship, work, to be honest, in every however you interact in the community. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you are always trying to hold into something outside of you to try and fill you up. You know,
Yes.
you're always out there, but when you are full,
Mm.
confident,
Mm.
feeling that from you are the source actually, and you are the
You
source. We are the
yes.
source, or whatever that you're looking. Whether
It
it's
is
respect,
solid.
appreciation, whatever, it's all here.
Mm.
And I believe when we are the embodiment of that, we become a mystery. That is, for me.
People they see us as enigma. I can't quite put my finger about you. Like you're not somebody that I used to deal with. It's like when you say a mystery. Yes, a mystery. Correct. G.
And we get to be that where even your partner in a relationship doesn't know who you are. Like every time they're just kind of like, I'm just waiting to see which page I'm gonna open today, and that makes it even more interesting.
It's
You become that when your partner say, "Oh, I know you in and out," even when you say, "I know my partner in and out," I don't know then what that is, because that with high probability you guys are not being your full authentic embodied self, because that's where
exactly.
you get to find all these things that you even never thought were possible. I had someone, I never used to like cooking before, like
Okay.
growing up. So the other time someone sent me a message, like I posted a cake that I did. Someone's like, I don't understand. What the heck is this? You baking and all that. I'm like, you don't understand the power of sexual energy. The things that I can do, it's mind blowing. And it's true. When I was an accountant, I never perceived myself as creative, when you talked about creativity and all that. But now when
Yes.
I get to connect deep with all of me, I'm this
I
mysterious
am
force.
limitless. Yes, I can be
Yeah,
anything that I want.
yeah.
As long as the mind can comprehend, or even beyond what the mind can comprehend.
It's beyond that, because the mind cannot really comprehend who we are. This is why the fear, because what is afraid is the mind, because that's
Yeah.
what is limited. And when we're
Yes.
going through life just relying on the mind, and I think we'll talk about this next time, we'll dive on it,
Yes. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
because even when we're talking about the reason why there's a lot of burnout is because people have an illusion of emotional intelligence. They don't have the capacity to receive what life throws at them, especially in these times of change. But when you are fully connected, emotionally embodied, then you have the capacity to go through whatever life throws at you. Because it's not about what is happening, it's about who you being. You can be in the middle of the storm. And like we said where we started in the beginning, be lost and confident, right? Because you have the capacity to take whatever that life is bringing to you. Yeah.
There you have it, guys. The sneak peek of season 2 with G. I am in the
Absolutely.
mid figuring out my season 2, and you will be my first one. Let
Thank
our
you.
listeners be the witness.
I can't wait. I had a great time with you guys. It's
Yes.
lovely. Yeah.
Okay. Last question, G. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
If I could create a
Quote.
quote,
A quote. Yeah.
it would be basically whatever that life throws at you, whatever situation, challenges, chaos that you find yourself in, that's where you're gonna find your strength. And just to top it and top it all, I can just say there is nothing as beautiful as being in the middle of the messiness of your life and falling in love with all of
And there you have it, guys. From Queen herself, G. I just want to say I love you.
it. I love you
Thank you
too.
for. Before we close off, G, I'd like to personally thank you for the work that you're doing for the world and the community around you, and for advancing every step of the way despite the challenges, creating trails for those that will come after you. For our listeners, this has been that one podcast with the controversial name, You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you find yourself thinking that you are worthless, you are not alone. But more importantly, ask yourself a level deeper. If I am worthless, then why the heck am I here? It is because your soul have chosen to be here energetically all the way from the ethers. And for that reason itself, you are worthy and you are enough. This has been Gao Motsemme, your guest of the day, and Nick Nieras, your host. Signing off. Thank you, G.
Thank you for having me.